Hi guys, this is another modification video for my Syma X8HG, and you can see the remote control here. What I'm looking to do is, the camera that I'm recording off at the moment has Wi-Fi capability. It's a GoPro-like camera, and what I want to do is to put the mobile phone in here, which can then pick up the signal, but also I want to extend the flight capability of the Syma X8HG, and as a result of which I would like to add this particular aerial. So this is a 6 dBA or 6 dB extended aerial for use, and as you can see, this was bought off eBay. This is the cable that I will use to connect with inside the unit itself. So I have to separate the internal workings of the cable, remove this part here. In effect, I don't need to use this one. This is not going to be used, and this one will then be connected into the aerial, such like so. So that will go into the top of it, which means that I need to get into the remote. I've made a mark here where I want to have this come up through, so I will drill a little hole inside that so I can feed it through, and then what I'll do is replace the internal aerial with the new connection there. The tools that I'm going to need for this: screwdriver, a solder suck, some solder. This has already got flux in it. This is quite old. This is the leaded type of solder. I think nowadays it's tin, and then a soldering iron, which I've had for quite a while, and is now sort of warming up. So the first things I need to do with this project, let's just take the cap off this one. I'm going to take that off. And now what I need to do is take all the screws out, and I'll take all the screws are now being removed. So now just lift the cover off, and the battery part is still held on here. So the positive and negative are held on at this point. So I'm just going to desolder those two cables. So let's just put a little bit solder on here. Okay. That's the cable released here, and do the same thing over here. Right. So that's now released, and what I can now do is drill out that little hole there, bring the cable up and through, and then on here I'm going to show you on my iPhone. So what I have here is the connection point for the aerial itself, which is this point here. This is the aerial, and as you can see, in this case the aerial isn't actually going up into the cable. It appears to be just lying loose at this moment, just in here. So I need to remove the solder on that joint there. The center of the core of the cable that I'm going to fit, I need to connect it to that point there. So that point there, and then the outer casing will be connected to that, which will be the ground, and then I'll have the ability to then connect this cable into the design. Should actually auto adjust. So this cable into this fitment here, and then I can obviously have it bent out that way. So this is the project that I'm going to undertake. Now is desolder this little aerial socket here, and remove it. So again, from my point of view, it's a case of just adding a little dab of solder on here, hitting the soldering iron, and there we go, that's disconnected it. So I'm going to keep this aerial just in case we need to use it later on. And then finally, just clean the solder connection off on this point. I want to dob a little bit of solder on here. And there you go, so there's some solder attached to that, and some solder I will put in here as well, just so it's got some fresh solder. So those two sides have now been soldered. Need to cut the cable connection so that I can then feed it to the back of this unit here. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to drill out the hole, fit the cable in here, and then work out what sort of length I need to make that work for me, and then I'll work it out. So I'm just going to do that and get the drill out and drill out the actual area itself. So I'm going to use a size 6 drill bit. I'm using one which is designed for wood, hoping that I can attach it in at this point, and then so I'm just going to run this one in here like this, just so that I start it off, and then I will endeavour to drill it out properly, making sure that the point of the entry and exit is reasonable. So let's just put the drill bit in, and what I'm doing now so there's my hole drilled through here. It's quite nice and neat, it's not too bad, and let's hope that this fits through snugly, which it will do. Okay, so I just got to open it up a little bit more, but in principle that works quite well. I mean, you can see that I can take it through here. So, yep, I'm just going to open it up a little bit more. That's sufficient. Yeah, that's good. I'll quite happily screw in, as you can see, through that. So I take the yeah. So there's the how it goes through with the aerial. If I just move the little screws out of the way by taking off the controller. So there's a grommet that goes over the top, just to stop it from slipping. That'll be nice and tight, and then attach the aerial socket under here. So I will tighten it up to make sure that that the aerial then is nice and snug and tight up against that grommet, and then I need to cut this cable so that I can then reattach it back into the remote control itself. So a fairly simple job, this one. Let me just tighten that bolt up. I'm just getting a pair of pliers out and tightening this one up. what I'm trying to do is make sure that when this is actually screwed in properly, like so, if I can get it to screw in properly. Then we have a very nice aerial to go into this point here, and makes a good connection. So I just click cable and to reattach. So cut this cable and then reattach the central core of this to the connection at the remote itself. And fortunately, this is the right size. So it's quite a strong bit of tension on that. So just if I offer these two up to each other, you can see, obviously this is not going to work like that, but if I bring it in, you can see that the aerial is not going to interfere too much with the handle once it's all set in place. And it's now just a case of cutting the cable and then reattaching it onto the remote. So I always favour cut long, and then you can always reduce down, whereas if you start with it being too short, then you don't have a huge amount of spare capacity to connect it onto. So if I cut the cable and then I can feed it sort of around the top of it that way, that will be a reasonable thing to do. So let me cut it first at the top, this level here. So we've separated the cable, and what I'll do is I'll do a trial cut just to see what it's made out of. Like a lot of these cables, they are multi. So as expected, the cable itself is made up of an outer plastic casing, which was this little piece here, which has now fallen on the floor. And then there's the shielding, so that's the shielding on it. And then inside the inner core will actually be the connection point that I want to solder onto. So yeah, let me just mix this up a little bit more. So as expected, you've got the outer shielding, and then you've got the inner core, which is going to be attached. And if I just show you on this one, I will attach the central core and then the shielding over here. And that's what I'm going to try and do now. So I just need to do a similar type of cut on this cable, and then solder it in and put it together. So bear with me while I get on with that. So I'm just using my magnifying glass to make sure that give myself a bit of space to work off. Okay, so that's the central core. So those are the two parts now separated, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to tin up the these two cables so that they're ready to be soldered onto the those 2 points that I showed you on the remote itself. Doesn't need to be too much. Okay. So those two now are held in place, soldered in place, and now what I want to do is offer it up to remote control. I'll see if I can do that using my little gadget here. Okay. So those two are now soldered in place, and what I'm going to do is essentially loop it back on itself like this to hopefully not put too much stress on the cable and allow it to bend round and then connect up to where I want it to. So my hope is it's just going to be something like that, which I think should be fine. It's the cable's fairly well soldered on. So the next step is to reattach the positive and negative of the battery lead and stop this from falling over. Some press solder on it. Okay, that one. Let's do it again. Right, so those two are now soldered up. And then what I can now do is fit the aerial lead up through here. So, and carefully just place these two down over the top of each other. So there you go, there's the lead connected on, and we can tighten it up and I can screw that in as well. So let me just quickly do that. And what I want to do also is just test it to make sure that everything is working okay. And we haven't done something untoward in the process with the remote itself. I'm hoping. Okay. Right. Buttons are in place. Aerial's going back on. Battery's going to go in. So batteries are in. Flip my aerial up a little bit. And turn that on. Okay, let's see. Here's my Syma. No, it's got no battery in it. So that's bound. So in theory, so you can see that. And there's the cut-off. So start again. So click start, and there's the shutdown. So you can see that I managed to fit the aerial. We look okay. I can start the video. There you go. So it's now showing me that the video is running. So hello world. Stop the video and take a picture. Yep. So all those functions are working fine on the remote control, and I will now test a flight out with it to see how it performs from a distance as well. So I'll do some test flights just to make sure that it does give me the distance that I'm looking for, and I hope that I'll again put some more videos up as I do those test flights. So without too much further ado, let me just take this off again. I need to put in all the little screws back into the remote control. So there you have it, the final setup, and I turn the remote on, turn on the quad, again bind. So that was just a quick test going to one end of the house to the other to show that it had communication. I could shut down the blade. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, and more videos will follow. Many thanks.